So the question was, what did you get from the program, and what would be the difference if you tried doing it on your own?
I'll take that because oh man, like I mean people said to me when I was doing the program, it definitely occurred to me. Don't worry, it was like, oh, I could learn this on my own. But here's the thing. When I learn things on my own, and I'm like incredibly devoted to my Coursera courses and online courses, like free courses. I have a personal policy of not paying for online courses, but oh well. Um, I I don't necessarily go as deep as I need to in topics. I don't learn everything. I am again very deadline driven. I'm very reward driven. And I know that about myself, and I tend to do enough to do really well on things like tests and quizzes, but not necessarily devote myself to learning the material the way I would really need to learn it if I were going to use it for my job. So I wanted to do App Academy because I wanted some legitimacy in the endeavor that I was kind of undertaking. And I wanted the job assistance, but I also wanted to make sure that I really learned the material. Um, because as much as that, I know I'm a smart person and I know I'm capable of learning many things. Um, I was not entirely sure that somebody else would be convinced, and also I know that I won't learn it as well unless somebody is making me sit down and learn it very thoroughly. So that was my motivation.
I mean, the single biggest thing I think is like what happens when you're studying on your own and you get stuck and you can't like find your way out of it. Either you can't find the bug or you just don't know how to solve the problem, right? Like having TAs there, having other people that are working there to lift you out of that is the primary thing that you're paying for. The other thing is like again being able to work with other people and getting to recognize what is good code, what is bad code, and having my own code reviewed, right? Like if I just write a solution, I know that it works, but I don't know if it is a hacky piece of shit or if this is like super elegant, right? And I don't know how to again like cultivate that taste until I've experienced it, until I've had people critique it, and then I know like I'm writing like good code that other people will find like valuable. And then also again in the job curriculum, like just having all of your friends there boost each other up when you're doing the job search and having that whole system. Like a lot of people had huge salary increases from their old job to this, right? Like it's not unusual to get like 2 times your salary or 3 times your salary. Like when I was weighing my jobs offers, every single one of them is one that I would have killed to have gotten like even an internship before. And like I would have taken a much lower salary. Like honestly, like I made I mean if you just want to be materialistic about it, like there's a lot of money on the line, and having people who are going through it and like talking about negotiations, understanding what the market is like, um, and just like having that support like meant that at the end of the day my paycheck is a lot bigger than it would have been. I would have applied to less companies, taken the first job. I wouldn't have gotten all of the practice in interviewing and known what the market was like. And it would have taken, I would say, like another 2 or 3 years to get to where I am right now.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, I agree with pretty much everything's been said. But I do think that people have different motivations, like what's going to get them to do the best work. So for me, at least, like I would not underestimate like how important it is to have a coach basically telling you like, do this, you have to do it by Monday. Otherwise, like the year previous, I told myself like I was gonna start learning some of this web stuff because it's cool. I like the idea of it, and then like a year later, like I had done like some projects, but really not gotten to the point I wanted. Um, and also like it's sort of already been said, but like you might be able to find some of these online programs that or projects, whatever, that tell you like just do this and finish it, and then you get a passing grade or whatever. But if there's no one reviewing it and telling you how good your code is, you may have like finished it, it may work, but that's not necessarily good coding practice, and it's not the kind of thing Like, I know this firsthand. Like, you don't want to see that in a big project with like 10 other people and some code that's not written very well just because you want to get something done. There's a lot more to it than that. So I think that was like a lot of the value for me in what App Academy was.
I also don't know many people who have the straight up diligence to sit at a computer for 9 hours of their day, just coding. And especially at the number of projects that you do in App Academy, like every day is a different project. A day could be 2 different separate projects, and you're doing it. As Ronnie said, when you get stuck, some people, they can get stuck and try to work over it overnight, and then it's just 2 lines of code that's wrong. Whereas like at App Academy, you have TAs, you have people looking over your shoulder that can help you, and instead of overnight or taking overnight to find a bug, it takes 10 minutes. You're not stuck there for 8 hours versus 10 minutes.
I just want to add one more thing. I do know people who have done the work and studied themselves and gotten themselves a junior developer position without ever going through any sort of program or getting any sort of degree. And they're the ones that get jobs by and large are very smart people, because you have to be smart and dedicated to do that sort of thing yourself. However, they also have huge gaps in their knowledge. Like, it's like incredibly like typical to see somebody come in and they do really well on your coding challenges and things, but they just don't really perform that well when you bring them into the work environment. And it's I think there's a certain sort of person that can sit for 10 hours a day in front of a screen and not interact with anyone else and just do their work. And it's much better for you personally to be with other people, learning with other people. It will just be a big gain.
I would just try it out. Try learning by yourself for 3 months, and then see if you can get a job. If you can, then you just save yourself a lot of money. It's 3 months. Give it a shot.
Touche. Touche.
Also, the curriculum of App Academy it's always growing and developing. Every cohort, there's a next iteration of the program for the next cohort. There's always changes being made, improvements to different assignments, feedback going. It's just a constant feedback loop. Cohort goes through it. What didn't work with this project? What did work? How can we improve it? And they continuously improve the curriculum, and it's always there for you. There's times where I do reference some of the old App Academy work, job search stuff too as well. It's always there for you for the life, or as long as GitHub is up.
Yeah. And the other thing is that people talk a lot in interviews about the power of networking. Like, even if your first job, everybody's on the same playing field, right? You graduate from App Academy, you have 65 people now who are working in different companies, right? And so 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line, people talk to each other about referrals and that kind of thing, and that network is almost worth it by itself. In terms of I know people at Google, I know people at Uber, I know people at Twitter, all the top name companies, I know people, and I know what's going on in the industry much better. And so, not just getting your first job, but your next job, you have connections now that you would not have if you were doing this by yourself.
Yeah, I was going to say something really similar, but just to give a story to just explain that. My interviewer, who I ended up working for my current company, he had done App Academy a year before me, and he had also done a feed reader for his final project. And so half of my interview with him was just oh, my feed reader was doing this, and what did you like about App Academy? So I think it's it's very much true what you're talking about with the networking part of it.
I think Sarah mentioned about 800 App Academy grads. There are 800 people that have gone through a program that you couldn't go through, and they know that when you come out of it, you have a certain skill set, and they can quickly say, hey, that's something we want.
Great. So you guys, I think we might have time for one final question. Does anybody have? Go ahead, what's your question?
Hi, my name is Alex. I'm a junior. 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 I'm a junior
I'll try to interpret. Maybe it was the work that's given in